All right, hopefully that's better, guys. Sorry. This is Tara with Tara Best Stamps. Hi, let me see if we've got everything going right. I'm glad that I pulled that up because that was going sideways and that was going to be a mess. So, let me see once I've got everything up and ready. All right, here we go. All right, thanks for joining me. This is Tara with Tara Best Stamps. I'm a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from mid-Missouri. If you're joining me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, Amy, thanks for joining. Hopefully tonight's card is not a mess because, hey, Mary, yes, way better, thank you. Hey, Karen, sorry about that, guys. Like I said, I've been out of town all weekend, so I made this card last week, so hopefully I can remember what I'm doing and I'm not a mess. We've been home for about maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and I didn't like my card. Hey, Rosie, thanks for joining me. So I decided to do something new and different, and then I didn't get it done in time, so I had to go back to square one. So tonight's card is a trifold card. We've got that, and we're using that on the Horizon set. Using the whole suite. We're using the DSP, we're using the stamp set, we're using the dies. Hey, Karen, you made it. Thanks so much. So I want you to sit back and relax. I haven't got a lot of prep work done with this, so we're going to do it all basically from scratch. So hopefully that's great. So here it is. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is our card base. So this is part of the 12 by 12 paper pack. You can get those in the color family. So I always try to buy the in colors in a 12 by 12. And neutrals I use a lot just because these create great fun folds. And if you don't find that you're using it all, you can always cut it, you know, at 5 1/4 or, you know, 5 1/2 by 4. And then you've got card bases that you can use for your mats. So it'll never go to waste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper trimmer today, and I am going to measure this at 4, and I'm going to score it. So remember that the gray is your score blade. So I'm going to do that at 4, and then we're going to open that up and we're going to slide that over to 8. And score that again. You can do this on your Simply Score tool if you wanted to, but today I needed the paper trimmer, so I just decided to use that today. All right, and we are going to fold these in, and before we do that, we need to cut. See, I told you, I'm all out of whack. So with this particular card, I always cut it differently every time. So I'm going to show you how I make sure that my DSP works with it. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer and I'm going to line up that first score mark along the edge here and click it down, just slide that on through. You can throw that away, actually use it for scraps later on. Okay, so we are going to fold this in accordion shape. So we've got that first fold and we're going to burnish it. And then we're going to do that second fold back. So here's your card base. Fun fold, gives you a little bit of extra pop, but super fun. And actually, I have that backwards. So we're going to refold that. There we go. No problem. All right, so we've got that nice burnish. Now we're going to open that. There's your card base. Super easy to use. Next thing I'm going to do is I've got some On the Horizon DSP paper. And I brought out a couple of different patterns that kind of went together. So we are going to use the top of this area to stamp our flying birds here. So this is going to be from that back side. And then we want it light enough that we can stamp the sentiment somewhere just along there. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to use this corner. I'm laying the paper there, and that's part of the reason that I didn't cut it is I wanted you to see my process. So this has the most white edge up at the top. So I am going to cut that, Now this is not exactly a standard size card. It's 5.5 wide, but it's tall, but it's only 4 wide because we're using that 12 by 12 paper that we cut in half. So I'm gonna flip this around and cut it at 3 7/8. That's gonna give us just a little bit of edge, and then we're gonna cut it at 5 3/4 because remember that height is exactly what we've got. So this is gonna be our back piece that we have. So next I'm going to do kind of the same thing and decide my process here with what I want to show here. So I feel like I want the blue and the orange to show a little bit more. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and trim some of that orange off. Go ahead and get my 5 3/8 going. And then I want this corner up here. So we're gonna do that at 3 7/8. Okay, so this is going to go right here. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna get that angle in just a minute after we get this bottom piece shown. So this bottom, I want the grassy portion to show. So I want this bottom side. So I'm going to cut, let's see how tall we are here. So I'm just gonna, right here, there we go. So if we go 4 inches, we'll be okay. And that'll show that green part. And then our 3 7/8. So I will put all of these measurements on the blog tomorrow. So now your question may be, how are you going to get that angle precise? So what I do, and I don't know, everybody does things differently. What I do is I kind of line it up to where I want it on this back piece. So that's about where I want that edge. I'm going to take a pencil and just draw a line. So I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in here, and I'm going to line that line up right along my cutting line. And if there's any left off, like you can see I didn't get it exactly there, I'll just erase that. So let's do the same thing with this piece. So we're going to want to line it up about right there. Just take my pencil, make another trace line, line it up. Hopefully we'll get this one a little bit better. There we go. And there we go. So don't even see that line. Let's go ahead and erase this so I don't forget it. And we'll line that up. Oh, there we go. It looks like I need to take a little bit more off from the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and line that corner up and try to keep that same. Actually, I want to make sure I'm not going to mess that up. There we go. All right, I think this will be a little bit better. That little mini paper trimmer would have been good for this job. That just fraction of a hair that we had to take off. All right, there's no lines there, so we are ready to look and see if it's gonna work. Looks like it's gonna be great. So we'll just go ahead and we can adhere a couple of pieces before we do, well, let's do some stamping first and then we'll adhere everything. Okay, so as I said, this is going to be our inside. So let's go ahead and stamp some of the birds that are flying, just so those are peeking through from the front, as well as our sentiment. All right, what's our inside say? Wishing you so much happiness. So I've got that stamp. Here's my block. I'm gonna line that up. My grid paper's a little rolly today. Okay, I'm gonna take some Evening Evergreen and stamp it. And we wanna make sure that it's going to be stamped below that line, which is not too hard because we're just peeking out a little bit. So right here in the center area is perfect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test my stamp to make sure that I'm pretty straight, pretty good. So when I'm doing my sentiments on something that I'm not die cutting, I kind of line up my base with what I'm stamping on with my grid paper. So that kind of ensures that the bottom is straight. So there you get that really nice crisp image that's all straight. All right, let's do some of the birds. So the new catalog was released to the demonstrators last week. It's super awesome. I can feel my checkbook and credit card all weeping already. I haven't made my list yet, but that's gonna be tonight's project. Should be pretty rough. So I'm just taking some basic gray and stamping these birds in a pattern. There we go. I'm gonna do just a couple more on the edge there. All right, great. So if you don't have a demonstrator, please reach out to me. I'd love to get you a catalog in the mail. Shoot me an email, send me a message. I'll get that out to you as soon as I get those in, because I'd love for you to see what's in it. It's absolutely fantastic. So as you see, this is a super simple card that's really kind of impressive. That's all we're going to do on the inside. So let's get to adhering. I'm going to take that liquid adhesive that I always like to provide me that wiggle room. Just give a little bit here. Who makes a list? Just order it all. Well, yep, that's probably going to be a lot of what's happening here because I don't know if I can decide what I need the most. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can pre-order. So we'll be seeing new cards from that very soon. Stay tuned, definitely. All right, so there's that inside for that second layer. Go ahead and adhere that down. I agree, Rosie, the dies are fantastic. I was really worried about the new in colors. I wasn't digging them in the very beginning, but I knew it was going to happen, that it was going to be knocked out of the park, and it certainly was. All right, so now see, I almost, because I was talking, put that glue on the wrong side. All right. Karen, I guess you're going to get it all too, right? And Tim, I'm going to need you to jump off here right now because you don't need to worry about what I order. All right. So there's your card base. And as you can see, we use different colors of that pattern paper, but it still kind of all mingles together really nicely. All right. So we're going to do the sentiment. And I have a piece of smoky slate that I've brought out here, and I'm going to add that wood grain, and I liked it in the smoky slate versus a brown tone. I feel like it's more beachy that way, and that's what this card made me think of. Okay, make sure we're getting some good ink on there, and I guess I'm using basic gray ink on this one. All right. Got my Simply Chamois over here to clean that stamp up off with. It's another item available in the catalog that is a must-have. Okay, I'm going to do this relax and enjoy your day right on top of this. Perfect. Okay, I don't think I need to clean that off. So we've got the mini die cut machine. Remember that it's on sale just the remainder of this week until the 1st. It's over on the 31st. So if you don't have one of these machines, I am doing a giveaway on my blog. If you place an order of $50 or more, you'll get an entry into that free die cut machine. So I'm going to use the Horizon dies, and I'm going to line it up here. And just do a quick die cut. And so the awesome thing about this entire set is it can be used in the mini machine. I could use some spring coming on, definitely, Karen. We were in Nashville this weekend, and it was supposed to be, when I started watching the weather, it was supposed to be in the 70s. Of course, it ended up being like 55 all weekend. It was a little cold walking downtown and stuff like that, but it was still a good time. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, so you'll see on this one, if you can pull that up and it'll hold it, but I really want to make sure that it is high enough that it's not going to catch on that one like this one did. So I'm going to be a little more careful with this one. Bringing out some Stampin' Dimensionals, because no card is complete without it being popped up at least one place. Oh, Amy, we don't use that word here. That is the dirtiest 4-letter word I've ever said. I'm not a fan of the snow. So we've got that kind of hanging off the top. We're going to bring the die cut machine back in again. I probably should have done this before I did that. Here's my layers. Super easy to use. You've got layer 1, layer 2. You're going to use your cardstock. And I think we're going to do 2 fences on this one, since we don't have that paper with the flowers on it. Just a super simple crank here. Gives you a little bit of resistance when that die is going through. Folds up neatly. Perfect for any crop that you may go to, or that crafter that's just starting. Okay. And it cuts so well that everything just pops right out. So just give it a little poke there. Push those out of the way. All right, so we'll decide how we think that fence line would look the best. So I'm kind of digging that right there, just that small area. Oh, I don't think I have the tweezers with me. There's my first mistake. Okay, little bits of glue. You could always cut a couple of dimensionals really small if you wanted to. I'll just try to be careful and not get glue all over myself. Right there in that corner. Okay, there we go. We'll do this. Ooh, that's a lot of glue. That may make a mess later. Pull some of that off. That's the nice thing about these glues like that. You can just kind of pull up some of the excess with your tip. Okay. We'll put this one right there, creating that opening where we're going to put those pebble embellishments. Heidi, I don't like that word either. No, no, no. We're talking spring these days. Okay. Another tool I love to use is my Take Your Pick tool. So these are the pebble enamel, and I think these are on back order for right now, but I think they're back the first week of April is what I read. So I'm going to take just one and kind of start creating a pattern, alternating a little bit. to create that stone walkway. Just kind of alternate them a little bit. No rhyme or reason as to which one you're using, because there's no rhyme or reason when you're at that beach line. Rosie, I agree. None of that, right? I'm ready for those beautiful flowers to come out. Heidi, where are you from? All right, here we go. It's easy to use an entire pack of these adhesive or these embellishments on a card because they're just so pretty like this. All right, I think that's good enough. Okay, so now all we have left is the envelope. So once again, because I'm running low on paper, I picked in yet another pattern. Actually, I think this is one of the patterns I did use. So I am going to cut this at 2.5, because that usually gives me enough. That way my paper's all good. Okay, I'm just gonna take some of that liquid adhesive and put it on the envelope here. Oh, Minnesota. Wow, that is a little cold. I'm ready to move south. My son's he's a junior, and we'll see how long we end up staying in Missouri, because I'm ready for sun. And I handle the heat better than I do the cold. It really is the dreariness that I don't like. As long as there's sun out, I'm in good shape, but I get kind of grumpy when it's cold and foggy and gross. All right, so there's that back. And then what we're gonna do is just add some of these sprigs. And actually, we're gonna do a little more than that because I'm feeling frisky, I guess. So I'm gonna pull out my Evening Evergreen ink. Mary, I'm glad you like it, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna take some Evening Evergreen, just line it up and stamp there. And then I've decided, let's add some of those birds flying. This is kind of hard for me because I was taught that you never put anything at the top of an envelope except a stamp. But I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Breaking the rules, breaking the rules. All right, so this is today's card. I'll have all the dimensions on my blog tomorrow. And if you've got any questions that I missed, I'll try to catch them later. Thanks, Karen. I'm glad you like it. So just a tri-fold card, super easy. The paper does all the work for you. Very little stamping, but a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me on your Sunday night. I appreciate it. I will see you next week for another tutorial. Have a good one, guys.